edition of the RDFNL Footy Show. Thanks to our friends at On Time Delivery Solutions. My name's Yeendy. I'm joined by Jordan Doyle, the RDFNL Operations Manager, who's got off the bench due to technical hiccups, and we thought we'd use you as the spare man to help us out.
Yeah, g'day Yeendy, good to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Every operations manager's going to have a bit of a run this year, and you've dusted off the boots and you're ready to go.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but hopefully live up to expectations.
So plenty of fines coming your way, mate. We saw a pretty good game, a pretty good round last weekend, and the ladder really starting to take shape. Horrendous conditions made playing conditions pretty ordinary.
Yeah, look, it wasn't easy, but sides found a way, and as you said, really good round of footy, and shaping the ladder nicely for the second half of the season.
Sensational, mate. Well, the first game we'll take a look at is Romsey's big win over Broadford, and an important win there for the Redbacks, who needed to get some percentage in what is sort of getting a close, tight sort of race to the finals.
Yeah, Romsey are on the improve. O'Sullivan with 7 and named best on ground, and a 151-point win was a good result for them. And you know, even though Broadford didn't get the win, I think they're improving every week, and they've got a big match coming up this round, so something to build on. Yeah,
it's definitely a good effort there by Broadford. I love Romsey's goal kicking though, 15-3 in the first half. We know how tough the conditions were. Jack O'Sullivan, an outstanding player there for the Redbacks. Great to see him sort of step up, becoming a really good goal kicking midfielder, which is what we're starting to see more clubs have too, which is great.
Yeah, and to kick 7 if you play in the midfield, that's a great effort, and yeah, holds them in good stead for the weeks to come.
A game that I certainly expected to be a little bit closer, and unfortunately the conditions didn't really faze them too much. Diggers Rest had a really big win over the Sunbury Kangaroos, and a stat that I did have thrown my way by Tara over at the Star Weekly is this is the second game in a row where these two teams have met, and Sunbury Kangaroos have gone goalless for the first three quarters.
Yeah, it's an amazing stat, and yeah, the Kangaroos wouldn't be happy with that stat, but Diggers Rest continue on their merry way, and Costigan with 4 named best player, and yeah, it was a pretty comprehensive victory by the Borough. Good
to see Stuart Clark in there have a pretty good game as well there for the Boroughs. Just one of the great players sort of going around. Sunbury Kangaroos will be a bit disappointed by that performance, but they still had some good contributors.
Yeah, they've been a little bit up and down, the Kangas this year, but couple of, their 3 best players on the weekend, Corso, Streif and Gregory, are names in the competition that we're all aware of, and they'll be looking to bounce back this week and yeah, improve their performances, consistency wise throughout the rest of the year. Yeah,
it should be fingers crossed they can still play some good competitive football, given that they're theoretically still in the mix for the finals. So they're a quality side. You can't keep a good side down for too long. I thought one of the closest games of the round on paper, sort of heading into the game, and ended up delivering, is Lancefield and Rockbank, and the Tigers. They got up for their second win of the season.
Yeah, it's good to see Lancefield get another win on the board, and it was a super competitive match, as you mentioned, and Rockbank were right in it the whole day. We're actually in front at 3/4 time, so they'll be disappointed not to get over the line, but some good signs again for the Rams, and yeah, well done to Lancefield for their second win.
And unfortunately for Ricky Cameron, kicked 4 goals to 3/4 time before finishing the game on the bench. I don't think, from what I understand, I don't think the Rams even had a bench. Well, they pretty much didn't have a bench in that final term, which when the game was on the line, it was a bit tough. Good to see Morgan step up and kick a couple of goals, but with big Will Brock in the ruck was fantastic. He had a great contest there with Mitch Baumgartner. Another important game, and a result that I think the Centrals won't be too disappointed with. They went down to Rupertswood by 4 goals, and we're starting to see the Centrals really improve as the year goes on.
Yeah, and they've got a big match current this week, but yeah, it was good for them to push Rupertswood the whole day. 25-point loss, even though no side's ever happy losing. I think they would have been reasonably happy with the margin in that game, and wouldn't have lost too much percentage. But Rupertswood, another 4 points for them, and Greg, who's just come into the side recently with 5 goals, 5 out of 8 is a pretty big haul for that on the day, so they'll be looking forward to a big match this round, and yeah, continuing on their form.
Great to see Dylan Weir step up and kick a few goals as well. He's been a good forward target for the Centrals this year, so Central's still a chance to make finals, but I think to push Rupertswood like they have pushed a lot of the quality sides in the comp Central, so I think there'll be plenty of positives to take away from that team. The game of the round on paper was certainly delivered in all aspects. It was Macedon just too strong by a few points over Wallen in a game that was affected by the weather elements, but geez, Macedon are now on the board as they're not flying under the radar anymore. They are a genuine threat.
Yeah, that's why they're the reigning premiers. Really good victory out there at Wallen. They're the first side to win at Wallen this year. Wallen on top of the ladder going into the round, and to get over them by 2 points is a really big effort. The Magpies still super competitive, and I don't think it was not a huge loss for them. Probably a good thing coming into the second half of the year to realise that they are beatable at home, and they've got to be on their game every week. But the Cats are really looking good again, and they're shaping up well for the second half of the season. And
I think Wallen have proven themselves as a genuine threat this year, as a genuine contender. So for them to play as well as they have, that's the second game of the year they have lost. They lost to Diggers Rest in their worst performance of the year, but then to lose that one by only a handful of points, they could be undefeated, or they've certainly shown that they're a quality force against all the good sides, and including themselves being in that category of being a quality side.
Yeah, I think they're going to be right there when the whips are cracking at the end of the season, and these sort of matches hold them in pretty good stead for the finals, which they'll be in later in the year.
The Bombers, a team that has usually taken the sword to quite a few clubs over the past sort of 7 weeks or so. They had an interesting game against the Hawks. The Hawks finishing strongly in that final term, but I think the Bombers, they'll be happy with that performance. But I think the Hawks are pretty disappointed that they didn't show that form in the final quarter right throughout the other quarters.
Yeah, on paper a 19-point loss to Woodend probably shows that they were pretty competitive, but when you look and dissect the match a bit further, 44 points at three-quarter time. Riddle might have taken the foot off the accelerator with one eye to next week in that last quarter, but Ross again with 4 goals, and in the best, he's having a super season, and same names again for Woodend with Toman and Ray in the best, but having said that, it was good that Woodend did fight the game out. A lot of sides being down by 44 points at three-quarter time against Riddle could have put the cue in the rack and got pants in that last quarter, but they stuck to it, and I think that'll hold them in good stead for the next week.
There's certainly been a lot of potential there from the Hawks, a team that hasn't played finals I think for about 7 or 8 years. So the last 4 weeks they've suffered losses against quality sides, but they've shown that if they can make finals, then they've got the runs on the board, the confidence to beat some of those sides. They've taken down Diggers Rest already this year, and so there is that potential there.
Yeah, and they're showing that they're super competitive, and they've had, as you said, they've had a tough run the last month, so they haven't been embarrassed in any of those matches, and they've got a really big match against Central's coming up, and then a little bit of an easier run on paper, so who knows, with Woodend going deep into the season, there's a fight there for the 6th spot on the ladder.
Yeah, certainly is alive and well. We'll be talking about that a little bit more later on in the week. George, thanks so much for joining us in this edition of the show. We look forward to catching up with you later on.
No worries, good on you, Yeendy.